Hello, and very welcome to Rediscovering Childhood, the space where we have meaningful conversations that help us rethink how we parent in a more conscious way. If you're a parent who finds it difficult to set boundaries around screens without starting daily battles, if you're unsure about what's actually healthy when it comes to technology and your child, or if you feel like devices are stealing your family connection and you don't know how to get it back, today's conversation is exactly what you need. I'm absolutely delighted to introduce you to Sue Atkins. Sue is an internationally recognized parenting expert with over 35 years of experience as both parenting coach and former deputy head teacher. She is the parenting expert you've seen on ITV's This Morning, Good Morning Britain, heard on BBC Radio. She is the best-selling author of Parenting Made Easy and Raising Happy Children for Dummies. Sue founded the Navigating the Digital Jungle program after noticing a massive shift in what parents were struggling with the most, not discipline or routines, but technology. And with 2 children of her own and thousands of families she's guided over the years, Sue brings that perfect blend of professional expertise and real-world understanding that makes her advice so practical and down to earth. In today's conversation, you're going to walk away with specific scripts for setting tech boundaries without the meltdowns, a clear framework for what's actually healthy versus problematic, and actionable strategies you can use today to create real family connection, even in our digital world. So, Sue, very welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. Delighted to be here with you.
I absolutely love your energy already. And I want to start by asking, what was the trigger point that made you become a parenting coach?
Interesting. Well, there's a story behind it. I was a class teacher and former deputy head, and I taught for 22 years. And then my father died, and then my mother died quickly within the same year. So it was a catalyst for change for me. And I thought, do I want to teach the Vikings for another 20 years? Because I was teaching children who were 8 to 9 in year 4. And I thought, no. And I had become involved in self-esteem for children and PSHE in schools, personal social health education. I was head of that department. So I thought, I'm going to retrain and take a different direction. So I went off and I trained with Paul McKenna and I became an NLP master practitioner and trainer. And then I thought, oh my goodness, I've got to put all of this into parenting. And then I pondered what my parents gave me, and I thought they gave me the gift of self-esteem. Hopefully not an arrogance, but a belief if I worked hard, try hard, make mistakes, get back up, have another go, that I could achieve all sorts of things. So I put all of that into my books and into my programs and into whatever else I do now. And that just kind of rolled along, and I got picked up by the BBC, and then I got picked up by ITV to sit on sofas, and picked up by Disney to sit on sofas, giving advice and giving a few tips. And now I noticed a real change recently, that people were asking me more and more about tech, about how to get them off tech, how to get them down from bedrooms and stop them gaming. So I wrote another book just recently called Navigating the Digital Jungle, with scripts of what to say to start those conversations, because I think connection and conversations is how we manage this. It is fast. It is really going faster than we can keep up, certainly with AI. So we can't put our head in the sand, but we can do some small things regularly that make a big difference over time.
That's amazing. What a story. I'd like to break it down into different things. You mentioned you did NLP, neuro-linguistical programming.
Yeah.
How, obviously, words hold so much power. Is there anything in how we communicate with our children, or even how we communicate with ourselves as parents in this really busy world, that could be, maybe if we change it, it's going to make a big impact, a big difference in how we interact with our children?
Yes, I think it's also about your attitude. It's about your tone of voice. It's about your body language. And it's also about what I call, do you mean business? Because if you say, oh, don't jump on the settee again, please don't jump on the settee again. Well, the kids can hear in your voice that and you're asking a question or you're kind of appealing to their better nature, and kids just don't do that. You have to be kind of what I call authoritative, but not, too bossy with them. You have to be flexible on the journey. There's lots of different styles of parenting, but I think confident parenting with your tone of voice, saying what you mean, saying it clearly, making your voice go down rather than up. Because if you make your voice go up at the end of a sentence, it sounds like a question. So if you make it go down, it sounds like a command to do what you say. And then you stand there confidently, your body language means it. And, you sort of say it nicely. And they say, do you want to wear your blue jumper or your yellow jumper before or after we go out to play in the garden? Or do you want to do your homework before or after your dinner? So you set up sort of before and after so they feel empowered, whether they're 4 or whether they're 14. But you're actually setting the agenda because you want them to either wear a jumper because it's cold outside or do their homework before their dinner or certainly before they go back to school the next morning. So language does matter. And I think it's important that you have that intention to be their parent, not their friend. But you can still do it with a smile and do it kindly.
Yeah, it's that supporting their autonomy through that safe choice that we give them on it constantly. And that's a habit that we need to build as well, because we don't know how to do that. I think children, it is hard work, but they help us become a better person, a better version of ourselves if we really want to do the work for them. But it bounces back to ourselves, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, I remember saying to my dad about something or other. I was about 15, I think. And I thought my dad knew everything, And I remember saying, oh, blah, 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 blah. And he said, but Sue, I've never done this before. Meaning being a dad or being a parent. And I kind of looked at him and thought, oh, right, yeah, I suppose not. And then we had a laugh and a chat. And it struck me as very interesting. You don't know all the answers. None of us do. I don't tell people all the time what to do. It's not my job. I ask good questions that help you find your own answers for your family, because you know your kids better than anybody else. You know their personalities, their character. You know what works for you in your home. So, use that and be confident. And all my work, whether it's on the Sue Atkins Parenting Expert site, which is absolutely everything from toddler to teen and divorce and all sorts of stuff in between, to then the Navigating the Digital Jungle now, where I put a lot of focus, which is navigating through all these different tech dilemmas, whether it's social media or whether to give them a phone or to delay giving your smartphone to your toddler in the restaurant. I don't judge you. I just think it's not a great idea perhaps to get into a habit of doing that. So all my stuff, whether it's my podcast or my resources or my writing or my books or my posts or whatever it is all about empowering you in the way that you want to be empowered. And even if you only do a little thing, you can make a big difference over time. And then pat yourself on the back for going, yes, I got that and I've done that. And isn't it great? Try another tip and then go forward from there. It's not about judging or tut-tutting or pointing fingers at people. We're all doing our best and it is difficult. We're all busy and it is a stressful time sometimes raising children because it's so tiring, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's that bit of vulnerability as well, as you mentioned, the example with your dad just saying, I've never done that before. I'm learning as much as you are learning right now. So that brings
And
you closer.
listen, when you make a mistake as well, sorry to interrupt you, but when you make a bit of a mistake sometimes, or you're short-tempered because you've opened a bill and you're a bit worried about how you're going to pay that or whatever. Sometimes it's just okay. You don't go into huge detail because children don't need to know that. They need you to be their parent and guide them, not frighten them with too much responsibility. But, say, look, I'm sorry about that, a bit short-tempered with you there. I had to, I opened the letter and it made me cross. So apologize, move on. Kids are very forgiving and, off we go as a family. They learn from that as well, that you modelled saying sorry when you made a mistake or were a bit short-tempered. So they're learning all the time from us. They're looking, learning, listening to us. And so we have to be a role model in everything that we do, whether we like it, whether we know we're doing it or not. But they're watching us, I'm afraid.
Absolutely. You mentioned it, and that's a topic I've had to leave restaurants because I couldn't cope with children on devices for the whole dinner, watching inappropriate videos or shorts on YouTube. 1-year-old, stay quiet, come in straight away, phone out, don't even talk to me, don't bother me. I've had to leave restaurants because of that. So I would really like to talk about that, not from a judging perspective, as you said, but from giving information on what is the long-term impact of that.
Yes. Well, for me, I was out walking we've got 3 dogs, so we were out walking in Lloyd Park there in Croydon the other week. And we went in for a cup of coffee after our long walk. I was tired out. And there was a dad sitting there and a child sitting there. He was on his phone and she was on a device. And she was 3, a guest. And I just sat there eating and and I was getting more and more flustered and more cross because there was no interaction at all. And he clearly loved his daughter because at the end of all of that, he packed up the bag and he had the drink and he said, okay. And they started a sort of chat as they went out. But they were there a long time. And all I would say to parents is, what are they learning from that? What are you doing? Because don't worry about what other people think. You can talk and teach your kids how to behave at the table. I have 2 children. When they were young, we brought a little rucksack around. I remember they all had one each when we were off on holiday as well, in Spain, actually. And then they would get out their toys that they hadn't seen for a bit, or we'd rotated them, or we played boxes, or we chatted. And then, they were young. So I said, get down. They could get down off the table and go and play in the sand because we could see them. So it's about setting things up for success and being mindful. I think why I feel so frustrated at times is I want to reach a lot of parents to say you're doing a great job, but just pause to ponder before you hand over that device, because children are not learning to self-regulate. They're not learning to control their frustration or their anger or boredom or whatever. And it does take a little bit of energy to put that into the mealtime or put that in a restaurant or when you need to do the laundry. Of course, there's moments when you can have your program. But if there's one thing also to do with younger children in particular is turn off autoplay from YouTube, because you just don't know where it goes and what they're seeing, and the adverts, the algorithms are awful, and sometimes they see really violent or inappropriate content. So just navigate that. Think about what they're doing. Because also when you hand over your phone, if you haven't got privacy settings on it, the world is out there ready to grab your kid's attention, and it may not be where you want your children's attention to go, because once you've seen something inappropriate or dangerous or violent, you cannot unsee it. So I'm on a bit of a mission to just be mindful about tech. I am pro-tech, but I'm protect at the same time. So just pause to ponder that.
Yeah, there's a quote I saw recently that said, when you hand a device to your child, you're not just giving access to your child to the world, you're giving access for the world to your child.
Certainly.
That's
And
very dangerous.
well, it is. My analogy is you wouldn't hand your keys to your young child, teenager, really. And, there's the 4x4 car out there. Here's the keys to it. Fill your boots, off you go and drive, right? They haven't passed their test. You haven't taught them how to handle it. You haven't talked with them about some of the dangers. They won't see them. They don't see the risks because they're kids. You're there to be their parent, not their friend. So guide them. Talk with them. There's not one big talk. It's not like the birds and the bees either that's one big talk. It's little talks, often and regularly and appropriately. So you're talking and teaching about certain things all the time. So it's really, really important, because I feel that children in particular are being exposed to really difficult and dangerous stuff. Just recently, actually, Grok was in the news because it's taking images of people that have not given their permission, children and women, and taking off their clothes and putting them into bikinis and doing all sorts of awful things with AI. So, be mindful about some of these social media platforms that your kid's on. Don't say to teenagers, oh, it's, parental controls. Because, of course, what does a teenager want to do? Get round those when I'm a teenager. So you call them privacy settings. And I think it's a good idea to say, should we do it together? Let's. That means us. Let's do it together, because I want to protect you. I'm not trying to, be a fuddy-duddy. I want to protect you from inappropriate content, violent stuff that you shouldn't be seeing at, 12 or 15 or whatever. And let's do it together and let's talk about it. And also come to me if ever you make a mistake, or you get cyberbullied, or something's inappropriate, or you get scared, or something happens on a chat room or something. Always have that ability to come and talk to me as a parent. Because if you do the old anger thing and let me take your phone away, that's ridiculous. It's not necessarily your child's fault. It is what happens in that world that they're not accustomed to. So it's important that you do it together. Then you can block, you can do things to help them. Don't leave them out there, because you do hear of very horrible stories sometimes with children in particular, and teenagers feel so embarrassed. We talked about that earlier before we came on, about sort of being self-conscious. And if you make a mistake, you get mortified, and it can escalate, and you think about it all the time, and then it can take a very nasty turn. So it's all about communication and doing it and exploring it and protecting them together because they have a voice and it's important to them. We didn't grow up with it, so I'm not being a fuddy-duddy about, oh, no, in my day we used a pencil, we didn't have a screen. It's not that. It's about adapting to what the world is, but also keeping them protected until they're mature enough because, some children are more mature than others. It's not an age thing sometimes,
Yeah.
but do think about your tech. That's all I'm asking people to do.
Yeah, that's so, so important. For me, my main mission with my children is to create a safe space so they can make mistakes. I need them to make mistakes just like I make mistakes, but I know they can come back to me. I'm their safe space. Mommy, I made a mistake. It's okay. Look, it
I
happens.
call that failing forward. You fail forward, but you don't. You learn from it. You say, well, what did you learn from that? You come
Yeah.
back to it and they go, oh, well, I'm not going to do that again. I mean, I remember my own daughter coming home late at night. She was a young adult, really, and she's still living at home. She's come back from uni, I think, and she'd been out with her friends and her phone died and she was out in a nightclub and she didn't have any money in the, and all that. And then she got home eventually, she got safe and she was this, that and the other. And she'd had a couple of drinks as well. And so I thought, well, this is not the time because it's about 2 a.m. to start, unpacking this because I was worried, anxious, angry, all those big emotions. So I just said, okay, well, that's it. She went to bed. And in the morning I said, right, should we have a chat about making sure your phone, you've got an extra thing that you can plug in that will keep it charged. Nowadays, you don't need it because you've got a phone that can actually do your money can come out of your phone. In those days, you had to have, I said, keep a tenner in your wallet so that, for emergencies, you can get in an Uber or whatever it is. And then we talked about all of that stuff. So she learnt from it and I asked her what she learnt from it. And of course, you go forward because you just want to protect them all the time. But they have to make some mistakes to kind of evaluate which ones are okay. And the younger they are, don't hover and do a helicopter thing all the time. Talk and teach them so that they can be empowered to save themselves or keep themselves safe in situations.
Yeah, what you just shared about your daughter applies as well when kids are having meltdowns and you don't give them the talk while they're having a meltdown. You wait until they calm down. Play could be a nice bridge between the meltdown and then regulating and connecting, and then you can have a chat. What can we learn from this? You probably hear as well so many parents say, oh, they're too young, they don't understand. That's not true. It's the repetition and the connection that builds that understanding. And I've seen it with my own children. They're so aware of the damages of too much technology. And they watch TV, they we do our things, we love technology, but use for the right purposes. And they're so aware of that.
With young children in particular, when you talked about tantrums, look at the triggers. Are they, when you're out and about, are they hungry? Are they bored? What is the trigger to them going into a meltdown? It's perfectly normal to have a tantrum. That's part of their development. It's what you do to build that and help them self-regulate. Get down to their level, let them have that kind of paddy, as I call it, get it out of their system. And they often get frightened by their very called big emotions. Space to take the breath. If you breathe deeply and slowly, they start to regulate their body as well through your breathing. And then you kind of go forward from there with them. But don't automatically hand them the phone as the placator because they learn that the device is what's bringing them down or buzzing them up, actually. But they're not learning over time to handle their own big emotions. And that's an area I don't think people are talking enough about, So yes, it's all about connection, isn't it, with kids? And play is a wonderful way to build connection and bonding and memories that last a lifetime.
Yeah. Before we get into play and back to the devices and using them for emergencies, do you think, what do you think is the reason that we use it so easily? Is it really not knowing? Or is it to do with our own self-regulation as adults? You just want it easy? Is it a bit of both?
It's a very good question, that is, because there's something called dopamine hit. It's an addiction designed. The more I've got into this, the more I read, the more I go, my goodness, it's a business model. So you get a dopamine hit, which is like a buzz when you're scrolling or you're looking. And then that makes you come off and then you're addicted. You want to get back on it again. In fact, I read an article, someone said it's worse than crack cocaine. Well, I wouldn't know about that because I've never done that. But it's the kind of buzz and addiction. You need to get back on it. Yeah. And so I've written about something, and it's in my podcast as well, but certainly on my blogs around the dopamine crash. Because even when kids are gaming, or adults are gaming, they come off and they suffer that kind of, you know, tense kind of vibe, and they can get a bit angry and a bit itchy and a bit, you know, kind of aggressive, really. So be mindful of it. So when you say to a kid, if they're playing a game as well, you say, come off, and you go, come down for your dinner, and they go, just a minute, I'm on that. They're designed to go up the levels to keep you hooked. So, you know, sometimes even it's like, you know, 5-minute warning kind of stuff. You've got to come down for your dinner in 10 minutes or whatever you decide to call it. So they get prepared that it's going to be time to come off, give themselves time to calm down. And I remember interviewing Dr. Beth Mosley on this dopamine crash, and she even taught her son that that's what it is. It's actually a physical thing, the withdrawing from it. So he would actually say it, sort of, they had a bit of a joke going on in the family. I think it was about 15 or 16. I'm just going through the dopamine crash. Give me a few minutes. So, you know, you can lighten the load, you can make it humorous, but be aware of it.
Yeah.
And don't just shout at your kids because they have been buzzed up playing their games or been scrolling. The other mindful thing is kids are looking at us all the time. So if you're constantly on your phone, when they come out of school and you're looking down, not looking up, hello, when you're doing this at the dinner table, they're learning from you that the phone and all of that is more important than they are. So it's about being mindful in our use of tech ourselves. Now, one other thing I remember talking on the podcast about is talk out loud. Not all screen time is equal. Some of it's fantastic. So you're cooking spaghetti bolognese and you want to check the recipe. Out you come and you check the recipe. Go, oh, yeah, no, it's that amount of tomatoes, right? And say that almost out loud so that the kids are seeing that you are using technology for a reason to look up the recipe or write its shopping list or whatever. But you're not just aimlessly scrolling through TikTok or Instagram or something for no apparent reason. So I think it's important to just be mindful ourselves so we can model it for our kids.
Yeah, I really like that actually, and I started doing, because obviously I work on the phone a lot for something, you know, emails and social media, uploading things. I wouldn't be scrolling, but checking messages and things like that.
Yeah. Yes.
I was feeling so guilty as a parent, always on the phone. So I started sharing that with them and showing them, this is what I'm doing. What do you think we should say here? What do you like this color with a change? You know, if I'm doing Canva, I'm designing a graphic for social media, whatever. So I involved them. So I don't need
Yes.
to, and that's our playtime. And now that she designs her own birthday party invitations on Canva because I've
Brilliant.
made her part of this
Brilliant.
process. So yeah, there is always a way without having to add more pressure and more games and more play. And just what can you do to share that time and the things you need to do with them and involve them?
Exactly. Exactly. And the other thing is sometimes you just go, well, look, I'm just going to do, you know, I'm going to turn off my phone when I'm doing something and put it away in phone jail or in the other room while I do this. And I'll check my emails at lunchtime, and then
Mm.
I'll check them at 4 o'clock so I can reply and, you know, make sure the end of the day is done. So that you have sort of strategic times when you go in and try and discipline yourself, because I know myself how addictive it can feel. You'll just check that. Oh, I've got a thumbs up. Oh, how great. And so that all links in, certainly with younger teenagers, into their sense of, you know, importance or validation. And that's a bit iffy, really, for them if they're always constantly looking externally outside of themselves, validation. So anyway, simple things that you can put in regularly that work for you are the way forward. It's not for me to keep banging on telling people what to do, but I do offer all sorts of practical tips, scripts, podcasts, you know, resources to help you navigate that digital jungle for your family in your way.
Yeah, that's and it's I love that it's all so simple but so
Yeah.
efficient, so practical.
It's KISS. Keep it simple, stupid, or keep it simple, Sue.
Yeah, I love that. For dummies.
That's it.
Even so play. Let's talk about play. Is play the opposite of being stuck on devices?
Oh, life is full of complexities. It's everything, isn't it? You know, it's a mixture. My dad taught me, it's funny, go back to my dad again when I talk on podcasts. He talked about balance. You've got to find that elusive balance. And, you know, work-life balance, I've written all about that as well. It's like spinning the plates at the circus when I remember going to Billy Smart's circus back in the day. And all these plates with the clown he was spinning, then he'd go over here and spin them over. You never actually get them all spinning at the same speed all the time. Some wobble, some, you know, do that. You have to keep tipping and tapping at it. So it's important really to try and find that elusive balance for yourself and what works for your family, I think, really.
Yeah, balance is absolute key, and any other thing, anything else is judging, because You can't just not use screens at all or not do these at all or
No.
play all day. I shared a video on Instagram the other day about a mom just being sarcastic, but she's like, I'm going to have to take them to the playground because I want to be a great mom. I don't want to be an average mom, so I'm going to have to take them to the playground. And then she's playing and she's like, this is the most boring day of my life. But it's like, you
Well, there's
can't be
different
doing all
types,
day.
but
Yeah.
you know more than I do. There's different types of play.
Mhm.
There is creative play, there's play on your own, there's parallel play, there's, just exploratory play. There's all sorts of play. So it's a mixture, but certainly getting them outside and
Mm.
playing outside, even the fresh air in nature. Simple stuff like certainly, give kids a binoculars or a magnifying glass or something. Or because I've got dogs, we were always walking them every day. And so you have chats and you play and then you mess around and then you poke a stick in a pond or something. Play has enormous amounts of potential. But animals play, cubs play. And I think we forget to play as we get older. Or be playful in your mindset. And we get very serious as we get older as well. So the idea of being playful and inquisitive and curious, all of these wonderful things are so important to children. And it's how young children in particular learn it through playing, through making mistakes or, exploring or sharing or negotiating or being in charge. Because when they're young, we're always telling them what to do all the time. So when they're playing schools or they're playing imaginative play or dressing up play, they can be whoever they want. So, sometimes don't interrupt them, let them and listen to it, and you'll be quite surprised what you hear sometimes.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And the more experiences, again, a lot of parents think, oh, they're not going to remember. So what's the point on that? But it all builds in their subconscious mind. And then when they want to choose their career or what they like, their strengths, their weaknesses, their challenges, they're more aware of themselves because of all the play experiences.
Yeah, absolutely. So don't always, one simple tip I use as well with parents is sometimes kids don't know how to start. So if you say in your head, for a minute, so you sit on the floor, or wherever your kids are, and you have that intention, I'm going to play with them for a minute and get them started or something. So you do it for a minute, and in fact, it's never a minute. It's a bit longer than a minute, but sometimes it just starts them off and off they go. And that gives them the confidence to play with whatever that you've set up and stuff like that. The other thing I remember with Molly, she's back in the story again. Gosh, she's going to love this. I remember that my husband had taken our son to his football on the Sunday, and she didn't. It was raining, and we said we'd stay home. So she said, should we play Ludo? And I said, oh, yeah, that'd be great. I love Ludo. I used to love playing it with my mum and dad. So anyway, there's only two of us. It's not so good with two. It's better with four.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we started to play trying to get the six and come out and all the rest of it. So we played and I had a cup of coffee and we laughed and we chatted. She was quite young. And then we finished and she said, oh, should we play again? And I thought, all right, it's nice time together, So we played again and waiting for this six, this elusive six. Anyway, finished that game. And then she said, should we play again? And I thought, I cannot play another round of Ludo with my darling daughter because, that's enough. The moment for that was for me. No matter how much time you give them, they will always want more from you because they love being with you. They love playing with you. So, I said, I've got to get the dinner on the go now. I've got to peel the potatoes, something. Let's stick on some music and let's do something else. I led her. I was guided by her. I played with her. But then I had a bit of a boundary round it, as in, I can't play another round of Ludo with her. But that's the lesson for me. They always want more. And it is lovely to spend time with them. So even if you're out in the garden playing quick cricket or football or whatever it is, they will always want you to play for another hour. But you have to kind of, say, well, no, I've got to go and do this. And no, they have to learn the word no anyway, no matter how old they are, don't they? No to sweets at the counter.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really, really important. And it's learning through play. And that's what it really means. Learning through play, learning boundaries and
Beautiful.
and and then avoiding guilt as well as parents, because as you said,
The
it's never
the big G of guilt. Hello, I wrote articles about all of that. The big G of guilt. Just Google that. Oh my God. So many people suffer from guilt. Mainly mums, actually.
Why
I
do you
remember
think
doing a
that is?
workshop. I remember doing a workshop and the dad suffered from regret, but the mums all suffer from guilt. Well,
Wow.
being a woman is difficult, isn't it? And being a mum, everyone's judging you and social media's judging you and your mother-in-law is judging you and all that stuff. So we do suffer from that a little bit because The thing to do is be fully present wherever you are. So if you're playing with your children, be fully present. Don't think about the report you have to write on Monday. And when you're at work, be fully present writing the report. Don't think and feel guilty about the children that you're not playing with at home because, they're at school or something. So stay in the moment and then do your best in both of those. And sometimes have a bit of a plan with that. But children thrive, even without you. If grandma's looking after them or in the play group or they're with a childminder, they're learning and playing with others. So you don't have to feel guilty about stuff. It's very high expectations we tend to have on ourselves and we feel we're not meeting them. And there is no such thing as a perfect parent. So just be a real one.
Are these expectations coming from society or just ourselves or from our own childhood as well, maybe?
Yes. Oh, you've hit the nail on the head. It's everywhere. It's coming from everywhere. You don't know where it's coming from. I don't want to do that because my mum and dad did that. I'm going to do it differently. Or, you do the same thing automatically because your mum and dad did that. Or it's coming from work, or it's coming from your partner, or there was a tut-tut from your mother or your mother-in-law the other day about something you were doing. Be grounded and know that you are doing your best and pat yourself on the back. And we all find it difficult at times. Back to the spinning plate. You can't get it right all the time. But overall, if you love your children, you spend time with them, you listen to them, you play with them, you're not going very far wrong, are you?
Yeah, that's a very good point. If I ask you now personally, looking back, for you as a mom, what's the most important thing about for your children to remember from their own childhood that you're proud of?
Gosh, happiness. I think children spell love Time. So I spent time with them, talking with them, listening to them, playing with them, guiding them, hopefully, not sledgehammering them on certain things. So, yeah, I think so. And the relationship we have is fantastic. I am that safe, and my husband, we are that safe place. And my daughter's just got engaged and she's 31 now. So
Congratulations.
she still comes home sometimes to sort of ground herself, I think. She's busy working. She's in America at the moment working and coming back. And then, she's back in then to get ground. She comes home for a weekend and she cooks and we chat. We walk the dogs. We have a couple of glasses of wine. Now she's an adult and we have a lovely time. We are bonded and you have to bend, not break as, your kids grow up. Perhaps go into relationships that you don't approve of or you don't think is quite right. You have to keep the relationship going because that's the important part, the connection. Don't break the connection.
Yeah, and that builds from those 10, 15 minutes a day consistently and play, conversations, walking outside,
Yes.
all those
Yeah.
things.
It just grows from the beginning. It's not one thing that you do as a parent. It's all the little things that you do. So, yeah, you just do them. And over time, hopefully, they end up liking you a bit.
Hopefully, that's the plan anyway. Or when they become parents themselves, then they'll understand.
They will. We'll see how that goes because neither of my kids have got kids at the moment. I hope they don't feel under pressure. Oh, Mum, she wrote books about parenting. Oh, my God,
I
we can't go home. We've given them a dummy. We're terrible people.
I know. How important is self-care for parents in relation to all of this? Is that kind of the root of all problems?
Well, there's no one size fits all of it, I suppose, but self-care is so important, right? It's that oxygen mask that comes down over you first, and we forget that. Mums are hopeless. When I do workshops and work with clients and all that one-to-one, they don't put themselves, you put a list, you go, well, where are you on the list? And sometimes they're fifth or sixth. But if you're not in a good place, if you are too tired, you're going to be grumpy, you're not as patient. And you're running on empty. So it is very important. It's not selfish, it's self-care. So do what makes you happy at times. Meet a friend for a coffee, go to the cinema, go out for a drink with a pal, or keep your own hobbies going if you like to go for a run or you like to paint or you like to salsa dance or whatever it is you like to do. It's important. You've got to spin the plates around your relationship with your partner if you have one as well. So it's not like, oh, God, but it is just pausing to ponder now and again, and I've written a lot about that kind of thing as well, relationships, about how you keep it all going. And you can't keep it all going all the time, but being mindful about your relationships is very important. And self-care is absolutely vital for that. So that you feel well, you feel strong, and you feel able to get back up the next day and have another go. Because having kids, and the more you have, the harder it is sometimes, you just got to keep on top of your game and happy and not wishing your life away for Friday or Saturday or some other time in your life. Stay present and enjoy the moment if you can.
Yeah, definitely. And that's again being more playful brings that happiness and joy into your
Playful
life.
in
And you want to do
mindset.
more of
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Yeah. Say a parent comes in very overwhelmed. My child doesn't listen to me. 5 and 7 year olds, they don't listen to me. I don't think they even like me. Where do I even start? Oh, actually, what about that? My kid doesn't like me. What do you think about that?
They don't have to like you all the time because you have to put a few boundaries around them. They would just love to eat sweets all the time and go to bed very late and watch telly or do gaming for 12 hours. So we know that's not kind of helpful or a good way of being. So your job is to be their parent, not their friend. And when they say they don't like you, if they're toddlers, well, that's kind of because you haven't gone with what they want to do. So that's all right. You just get grounded and calm, breathe deeply and say, okay, I know you don't like me at the moment, but I just blah, blah, blah. And you don't have to be their friend about all that either. Don't overcomplicate the explanations if they're only 3 or something. But, be big enough to absorb that I don't like you because it's only temporary. If you have a loving parent, it's only temporary. So just take that. And when parents come to me with 5 and 7 year olds who say, they're not listening to me or they're not doing this, you can't fix it in a minute. I can listen to that and then we unpack why that might be, why that might have happened, what you can do, a small change this week only to make a little bit of a change in that. Then let's chat next week and see how did that go. And usually it improves and then you tweak. It's a ball of wool, right? And it's got lots of tipsy tangled knots. So you pull out one at a time when I'm working with clients because you can't, otherwise, like if you take multivitamins, you don't know what was the vitamin that helped you feel better. So just tease out one and focus on one thing and work on that for a week or two and that
Mm.
will improve and then everything goes from there. It's like bedtimes, can't get them to bed. Well, what are you currently doing? Tone of voice. Are you just begging them to get their pajamas on? Or are you saying, right, it's bedtime, climb upstairs, we're going to have a bath, then we're going to put pajamas on, brush our teeth, and then we're going to have a story. You can choose. I'm going to count to 35. Off you go. And you don't sit down there counting to 35. I remember saying the very same thing to my kids when they were little. And of course, I'm not counting, but you go, oh, 24, be playful in it. And then they kind of, oh, yeah, get ready. I'm ready. And then it's, now, who's going to choose the story today? They choose it. And then, of course, they want the story again tomorrow and they want another story and they want 6 stories. But you just go, well, we've had 2 stories now. That's great. Tuck you up. Good night and God bless them, whatever you say to them. Always send them off to bed with a nice message. So isn't that lovely to fall asleep knowing you are loved and safe and secure? That is a gift as well that you can give them that doesn't cost anything.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes such a difference. Such a difference. And how they wake up as well.
That's right. And if they
Mm.
constantly see you sort of frowning at them and cross with them and annoyed with them, you're damaging their self-esteem,
Mm.
aren't you? And that's back to the running on empty. So make sure you get a break or you get a bath or, I remember my husband came home after working full time. I'd been with the 2 small kids all day long and he walked through the door and whatever. And I said, oh, thank goodness you're home now kind of thing. I'm going to go and have a bath. And I lit some scented candles and I was in the zone of, this is my time now. And then he came up the stairs with the tea and said, hello, we've come to see you. And I looked at him, right? I didn't embarrass him. I said, it's lovely to see you all too and all that. When they went down backstairs and we were on our own, I've been with them, 12 hours today. I was just having a bath on my own. I needed a bit of space and a bit of quiet time. I was tired out. I didn't realise. So, of course, you've got to talk. I didn't shout. And I just said, didn't realise. So, of course, then, when I go off and have my bath or whatever I did, I had a bit of me time.
Yeah.
Me time is
The
so
door is locked for a
important.
reason.
Me time, that's right, And that's just a bit of a boundary, isn't it? That's all it is. Then I'm
Yeah.
ready to embrace the day or embrace the bedtime routine or do the cooking and whatever else routines we had
But it's so
around bedtime.
important to voice your needs as well. Because as you
Yes.
said, I
And then,
didn't
yeah.
realize they don't know if we don't say
Well,
it.
And, I wasn't cross. You can't go in and just, embarrass him in front of the children,
Because
etc.
you understand the good intention behind what he
Exactly.
did, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. What are your non-negotiables in relation to children's connection? What's like every day that needs to happen?
Well, no hitting each other, no spitting, no putting down, pushing up. The kids always had to push up and look for the good in each other, share each other's successes. If Will was very good at swimming or something, then, when he won an award or he had a good day or something, we celebrate that. So sitting around the table sometimes we used to eat together, I think that's very important. I think really now, we're not so religious as a society necessarily, depends on your culture or your family, but sitting together and eating together without devices and screens be a real moment of connection. And don't nag about holding the knife and fork properly or, eating more broccoli. What made you laugh today? How's it going with your friend at school? Tell me about this. Be involved in their lives. Know about their friends, what's sort of bothering them or making them laugh. And chat with open-ended questions. And you can start sharing perhaps a bit about your day too. So you're what I call the we team, W-E, the we family team. So that you come together, you connect, you talk, you laugh, you chat. And sometimes those meals can be family talk times around technology. If you want to impart something important, plan it a little bit, not a complete agenda, but you want to talk about something. You want to talk about screens and how long they're on them. And you want to sort of set a few rules or something. That's a good time. You're all relaxed. You've had a chat. And they say, look, I've got a bit of a problem. I remember doing this with my own kids. I can see myself in the kitchen. And we had a salt and pepper pot that were like sheep. So whoever was talking held the little salt and pepper thing, the sheep, so that no one interrupted them. And I remember Molly was only about 5, I think, at the time. And I was talking about laundry. No one was bringing down their laundry baskets or something. They were leaving it all on the floor. And, it's all right the first few times. And then you think, oh, I feel, a bit annoyed about this. Why can't they put the stuff in the basket? So we had a chat about putting the stuff in the basket. My son was 2 years old. I said, well, you can bring your basket down. And eventually, as he got into teenage years, I showed him how to use that washing machine as well, so that he knew he was quite technical. I'm not going to do all his washing and put it all away when he's about 15. So anyway, that's a Montessori type of approach, actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, so that's the whole point about this. Talk and teach them, communicate with them, have boundaries around some of the stuff, and talk with them about some of maybe the problems and what do they think. Because I remember Molly came up at that particular instance about the laundry with a great idea. I can't remember what it was now. It's a long time ago. But I remember thinking, God, she's got, and then she's bought into it. She's got agency in it and a voice. And it was just a good kind of way of showing that we respect the children no matter how old they are. If they said something ridiculous and I didn't agree with it, not being funny, you don't have to be rude, but, we are the parents and we make the decisions ultimately, but it's nice for children to feel part of the team.
Yeah. And again, back to screens, how being on devices then takes all that away so easily. That's all
It
gone.
does.
The opportunities for connection, for conversations. And when they finish school and we ask them, what did you do today? And they say nothing. And then they'll tell us at the dinner table, if we have that space for connection, that's the right time. And they'll tell us not because we asked them, but because they feel so relaxed. They want to share their day with us. And screens
Exactly. And
take that away.
I remember also at bath time when they were young, they would sort of chat and open up and start telling me stuff as well. But I do remember when my son was a teenager, I think he was probably about 16 or something, he'd been out. I was teaching at the time, deputy head and stuff, and I went to bed with a hot chocolate, my glasses, my new book, and I went into bed, oh, this is great now, an early night. And then he came in and I always remember he sat on the end of the bed and he turned to me and he started to talk. He wanted to open up. And I thought, okay. Now, I could have cracked on and said, oh, let's talk tomorrow. I thought, so I took the glasses off, put the book down, and we chatted. And he opened up about something that was bothering him. We had a chat around it, what we could do. And it was what I call a magic moment, because even at that age, they want to be independent. They want to be here. They want to do that. But he came to me, and I was very touched that he came to me to talk with me, and we talked together. So look for those moments of connection when you're not necessarily in good form or you're tired. but be open to those magic moments, because they are the moments of, where you can really talk with them. And another one for me was driving out to football training. I used to sort of resent it a bit on a Thursday evening at 6 when the traffic was terrible. But I started over the bigger picture to realize that sometimes we talk deep and meaningful. I could pass on values or things I was thinking, because I'm driving as well. You're not looking too intently at a teenager. They don't particularly like it if you're all intent. You're driving and doing that. Sometimes we talked about the football because we like Chelsea, and we'd complain about the manager or the referee last Saturday. Sometimes we just listened to the radio. Sometimes it was nothing much that we'd do, but they were a whole bundle of wonderfulness, actually looking back, because they were our special half an hour. And then my husband would do the same. He'd pick him up. So there was that sort of magic moment just with him on his own as well. So make it fit your family. You don't have to do anything special. We were naturally driving, and we could naturally use that moment, to talk with each other and connect
Yeah.
and bond.
That's so powerful, and again, so simple. When these are this simple, and I love how you name that, the magic moments, because they really are. And I think being able to notice them instead of that's when you respond instead of react to those moments, because it's
Yes.
inconvenient for your timing, but it's so important opening for them.
I think what you've said there, I wrote about that. Respond, not react. Most of us, let's be honest, react.
Yeah.
And we need to pause. And I've got this idea of pause to ponder. Just imagine you've got the remote control on the TV. You just pause. Take a physical one step back. It's quite important to just even do that. And then go, is what I'm going to say helpful, or is it going to damage our relationship long term? And you can do that with anybody, actually. But that pressing and pausing just gives the brain that split second to think about what you're going to say. Because often in anger, when we react, we say things we really shouldn't, or we regret profoundly. And I've done that recently, actually, with my son, who's 33 now, the other week. We're in Ireland, actually. And I thought, I should have pressed that button and paused before I said what I said. So we can you never stop learning. You never stop,
Yeah.
improving yourself, can you?
Yeah, but back to what you said earlier as well about I made a mistake, then you apologize and you repair and talk to them and show them that we all say things in the moment, but that's okay. You can acknowledge that and move on.
Yes. I think
Yeah.
that's important. When I look back, actually, with my mum sometimes, when she did something that she didn't actually always say sorry about something. So I carry the memory of when she said something a bit hurtful, and clearly she loved me to pieces. But I remember a time, and therefore I think I'm very mindful of when I made a mistake fairly recently to say, look, I'm really sorry. I shouldn't have said that. And I don't mean that, blah, 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 blah. So, saying sorry is important.
Yeah, absolutely. So, anyone listening to this episode, if they could only do, say, one action, one something, one change, one noticing to start doing from tomorrow. So, I want to make a difference. I want to build a stronger connection with my children. What's the first action that I need to take?
Spend time. Time. Children love time, I think. Spend time. Doesn't really matter what you're doing. Peeling potatoes, walking the dog.
Time, say, to start off, because it's a new
Well,
habit.
put it on your phone. Put a message somewhere on your fridge or in your bag, or just listen to this. You don't have to. You just go, I need to spend more time. I'd like to spend, not I need to, because then that feels like, oh God. I'd
Sure,
like
yeah.
to spend more time with the kids, or I'm going to listen to them and just give them the gift of listening to them and spending that time with them. And and I suppose if you need the reminder, because habits, change happens quickly, but habits take a little longer. So you need to sort of make sure you're doing that each day. So put a little reminder somewhere for yourself. And if it is at a certain time, if you're working and the kids are at school, is it 6:00, or when is it 7:30 when you put them to bed, or is it some other time? But that then becomes your time with them. And the other slightly important thing is they're not all the same. So don't always put them together. I had a client who had 3 girls, and she lumped them together completely in love and said, girls, get ready for bed. And then they would play her up. So when she said, now, Charlotte, I want you, Sophie. So she was specific, and she called
Okay.
them by their names. and she spent time individually, carved out a little bit of time individually throughout the week, not every day necessarily, but throughout the week. One of them went swimming on a Wednesday, so that was their time together, and they both look back now and said, oh, that was such a lovely time when we used to go swimming together. So you carve out these magic moments for yourself.
Yeah,
So
like you
just be
mentioned, bringing
mindful
to
of,
football. Yeah.
yeah, just make that part of your new new resolution of some sort.
And I did that, and that removes so much guilt as well.
I used to have a kind of a journal thing for parents, but you can get a bit of paper or your diary or your journal by the bed, last thing at night. Just jot down the stuff you're pleased with that you did. And you get into a bit of a habit last thing at night. It's amazing because then you fall asleep with positivity and you wake up positive because your unconscious is working on it. But if you write it down, right, you'll see all sorts of things that you have done that were fantastic. They might be small things. That doesn't matter. Life's all about the small stuff. So, but then you go, God, I did all of that. Gosh, there's a little pat on the back there. So do that little habit because that can work really great things and magic for you as a parent. We're all very busy judging ourselves and not doing enough. And, all the social media makes us feel inadequate sometimes. But doing something very simple by jotting down what you got right or what you're pleased with. I used to do a thing on one of the social medias on a Wednesday. What are your Wednesday wins? And people would send in, what they had achieved. And they're all very personal. They don't have to be celebrated publicly. But if you just get into that habit, it gives you a bit of motivation and keeps you going, lifts your
Yeah.
spirit.
Yeah, it raises everything. Yeah.
Mm.
That's very empowering. And I think taking from today's conversation, set boundaries, be confident in your parenting, connect and be vulnerable with your children, learn from each other's mistakes, and make time for play for yourself and for the children. Be more playful and reflect at the end of the day and celebrate the little wins because we do so much. Yeah, it's connection, play, and having fun. Don't forget to have fun.
Yes, I always say a smile is a curve that puts a lot of things straight.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.